Okay, exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds from now, that supermoon will be the superest. Yes, that is a new word that we are coining here this morning. It will be at its peak this morning at 6:22 a.m. Closest it has been to the Earth in more than 7 decades. Won't see this again until 2034. But how super is this super moon? For that, we are going to check in with a real-life astronomer. Ryan Marciniak from the Ontario Science Centre joins us right now. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, how are you doing?
So, how excited are we about this supermoon?
Well, we're just excited about the moon in general. I mean, the supermoon's a little bit overblown, but it's really the mix of two things: the perigee, when the moon is closest to the Earth, and the full moon. And so if those coincide, the moon looks a little bit brighter and bigger, and might make you turn into a werewolf a little bit faster.
I've noticed I have to shave again. Yeah. So tell me about what everyone's been. I love the fact people are so interested in it this time around as well, because you're right. The moon is a pretty neat thing.
Yeah, we should always be excited about looking at things in space. There's so much interesting stuff out there, and we get to see the moon ideally full once a month, but we live busy lives, and so anything that gives us a second to pause and actually take a look and enjoy this huge moon, and the moon is huge compared to the size of the Earth, so it's a really neat thing to see it full and bright and walk around at night and be able to see.
It was fantastic. I was watching it rise yesterday afternoon, probably around 5 o'clock. It was right, beautiful orange right along the horizon. And what people tell me about when we see it down near the horizon, it looks so large, and then it gets up in the sky. Tell us about that phenomenon. It's much smaller when it seems much smaller.
Well, it's literally called, definitely. Yeah, definitely. It's literally called the moon illusion. And so when it's closer to the horizon, it's actually no larger than it is when it's high up in the sky. But we are able to compare it to things on the horizon, like trees and houses, and that makes it appear larger to our perception. So it hasn't grown at all. In fact, it's about the same size, about the size of a nickel held at arm's length.
Now, a lot of people claim that when the moon is full, hospitals are busier, police are busier, kids are kind of a little wonky. Is there anything to be said about that, about the energy from the moon when it's full as opposed to when it's not full?
Well, I don't know about energy. The gravity is a little bit more, and actually the tides, because the moon's a little bit closer, will be slightly higher. Like, I'm talking a couple of centimeters here, so not really a noticeable difference. But I think it's more of the fact that the moon is very bright, and so if we're used to a very dark night and a very bright day, if it's bright at nighttime, that tends to mess with our clocks a little bit. So I think there's something to be said for that.
So now a lot of talk, of course, about our next. We've forgotten all about the moon now. We're sort of concentrating on Mars, but the moon itself, even in our trip to Mars, is it going to play a role? Do you think?
I absolutely think so. The hardest part about spaceflight is getting off of the Earth. We have a thick atmosphere that really pushes against spacecraft. It's like when you're in a car or a convertible and the wind's blowing in your face. It's exactly like that, except a lot faster for a spaceship. So if we can use the moon as a launching point, it takes a lot less energy, a lot less fuel for us to be able to get to Mars.
Okay, so let's get back to the supermoon, and as you were saying off the top, it kind of gets overblown. I mean, not that the media does that, overblows things, Ryan, but in fact, Frank was telling me too that in astronomical terms, the moon really isn't that much closer today than it was, say, a year ago.
No, not at all. I mean, the moon typically varies between 350 and 400,000 kilometers from the Earth, 350,000, 400,000, and it does this every month. The supermoon, as we call it, just so happens that the closest point happens to be around the exact same time as the full moon, so it looks a bit bigger and brighter. But in terms of being as close as it has been in the last, 7 decades, since 1948, it's only a few thousand kilometers closer. So that's not really a noticeable difference for anybody looking at it, but it's kind of neat to say that, hey, I looked at the closest moon since 1948 and the closest it's going to be until 2034.
Okay, give a promo for the Science Center, give a promo for Ryan Marciniak and for astronomy at the Science Center. Why do we need to come down there today?
so you can learn about all the amazing things going on in space. So you could know about the supermoon before it happens, and so you can learn everything you wanted to know about science.
What's next for the moon? What's the next thing we're looking for? Can you tell me off the top of your head that we should be watching
Definitely.
for?
Well, there's actually another. Oh yeah, well there's another supermoon in December. This will be 3 in a row, October, November, December. So it'll be another full moon at the perigee when the moon's closest to Earth. So it'll be big and bright in December's full moon. So even if you miss this one, you can still see it in December.
All right, thank you, Ryan, for this. I appreciate it. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, my pleasure.
Ryan, live long and prosper.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, all right, the astronomer's laughing at me. All right, thank you, Ryan, I appreciate it. Ryan Marciniak from the Ontario Science Centre.